I wanted to share too is as my release has kind of grown and as I've learned to design things, I've really evolved with my design style and changed it quite a bit. So you'll see even in today's release, it might be a little bit different than things you've seen in the past. Now I'm never going to get rid of my fun and quirky and playful style from my line, but sometimes it'll grow up a little bit. We'll mix in some of those playful styles and I always will have those, but I do like some more sophisticated designs too, and I know that's been requested, so hopefully you guys love this release as much as I do. So guys, without further ado, let's turn down my work surface and let's share the brand new release with all of you. Okay. So I'm going to move it down to my desk, and let's start off with the first stamp. Now this is a background stamp, and like many of you guys know and love, this is a peel apart background stamp. It's called Bold Blossoms, and the cool part about this is it's sized to fit on a slimline card. Now let's see, what is it actually? It's this size. It's not quite as big as a slimline card, so you'll see in some of my examples today that there's a little bit of a border around it, which I wanted, and it's going to create a really awesome floral arrangement on the front of any of your slimline cards. Yes, exactly, Janine. Janine said, nice to see you grow as a designer. That's what's supposed to happen. Totally, and I think that's so cool to even see as the line progresses. You know, I'm kind of in the middle of finding my design style, so it's really quite funny. Okay. Renee said, I'm still trying to get into slimline cards and I have the stuff for it. Just chicken to actually do it. Well, hopefully today's release is going to inspire you. So of course, this background stamp is so much fun. I love the different florals on it. But in true peel apart Simon Hurley Create fashion, we have 4 different pieces that peel apart out of here. So you have one flower here, a littler flower, and then up here we have a larger leaf cluster, and then another smaller kind of medium-sized flower with some more leaves. So I thought that it was really important when I did my slimline backgrounds to be able to do these peel aparts. That way you're able to use these flowers by themselves, whether you want to create just a normal A2 size card, or whether you want to change up the background or do just a little cluster of flowers. It's really super up to you when it comes to this, but that just adds to the versatility of the product because like I said, if you don't want to use this for slimline, you totally can pull these out, use it for something else on your card making, and I think that's really important to the versatility of my line. So it's really easy. If you've never used a peel apart stamp, all you do is just puzzle piece these little pieces back in, and they fit super quickly and easily right back into your background stamp and fill everything out, which I think is really awesome. And if you're struggling to kind of get it in and make sure that it's nice and flat, just pull a little bit on the other part of the rubber, press it right down in, and there you go. It'll fit perfectly back into your background stamp. So you can stamp this as a full background, or you can peel those pieces out and use them separately. And you'll see that in today's projects. Awesome. Okay, so let's go on into the next stamp now. I'm going to focus on the stamps first and the full release, and then we'll get into the cards at the end, and I'm so excited to share the cards with you guys because I had a ton of fun playing with all these different products. So this one is called Fresh Cut Flowers, and I am obsessed with this background stamp. It's one of my favorites. It's got so much detail inside of here. You guys can see, let me lift it up to the screen. It'll focus there. Look at all that amazing detail. And this is something we really could only get with the red rubber that Stampers Anonymous makes for us. It is absolutely fantastic. All of that detail is still in that stamp on the back side, all those little stitching lines and everything like that, which I think is so cool. So this one is called Fresh Cut Flowers. It's one of my favorite background stamps we've ever released, and this one's going to cover a full slimline card, which is really exciting. So I am just in love with this one. So you can cover the whole background, and then once again, it's a peel apart background stamp. So this means that we're able to take out more pieces, and I love the size of these as well. They are perfectly sized. They're quite large, so they really are able to cover a card and create a really nice floral cluster on here. And we made a bunch of peel aparts in this one. So you've got different leaves. You've got 2 flowers in different sizes. All right. Then you have 2 different size leaves. This flower that's kind of a bud, which is opening up, and this larger leaf cluster. And I am just, like I said, over the moon about this one. It's one of my favorite stamps I've ever created. And when I was talking about just all of the little details we were able to get into this stamp, like I'm just obsessed with all of that stitching detail. Can I even get it on here? It's like insane. I had so much fun drawing and designing all of these different stamps, and we went to kind of like a garden and took different pictures and got a lot of different inspiration. So I was in love with how these flowers were, and I kind of created a little whimsical style after them. Karen said, I know what I'm going to get my friend. She would adore this stamp set for Christmas. That's so awesome, Karen. So yeah, I'm able to just peel it out and put it back in and puzzle it all together. Kathy Zilski's in here. Hey, Kathy. Great to see you here. Scrapbook.com says, loving these peel apart stamps. Yeah, it's just one of my favorite things because you're able to use the background by itself, and then you're also able to peel it apart and use it on whatever size card you want, use it as a different kind of background. Like, you're really able to control how your whole card looks, and I love that. Because sometimes with background stamps, it can be a little limiting. And then with this, I love that you're able to take it and, 3 different people can use this, and someone might use it as a full background, and someone might peel it out, and you're going to get a bunch of different looks from everybody, which I think is super cool that you're able to kind of stretch your imagination like that. So like I said, this one will cover, this is the size of an A2 size card. This is 3.5 by 8.5, and you can fit this on here, and there's actually a little bit more room. So if you want to make even a little bit slightly larger of a slimline card, we made it so there's overhang so that it's really easy to stamp and make sure it goes off of the edges. And then let me just show you this one, like I said. So this one is going to have a little bit of a border around it. And I really wanted that so that it kind of creates that flower cluster, but you can have a little bit of color peeking out on the edge. I'm so glad you guys are loving the peel apart stamps as much as I do. We have quite a bit more coming in the next coming year, and I am just loving the versatility of them. So this one's called Fresh Cut Flowers. And I'll drop a link in just a little bit where you guys can go shopping once it goes live. I just want to kind of get through everything and explain it fully first, and then you guys can head over. So this next one is called Lovely Lantanas, and I am obsessed with this stamp set. Like I said, guys, my style is kind of ever-changing, ever-evolving, and I have had so much fun playing with different flowers, and I didn't have a lot of flowers on my line, which was kind of weird because I loved creating with flowers. It's one of my favorite things, and honestly, my cards turned out so fun when I was able to create with different flowers and stamps from other brands. So I thought, why don't I design some flowers as well that work well with my line? So these stamp sets that you're going to see are the same format as my other ones. They are 6 by 9 stamp sets. So you actually get an inch extra than you usually do on other stamps. They're clear photopolymer, and these are kind of meant for slimline cards. However, don't take that the wrong way. You can use these on any size cards. It's one thing that a little bit kind of annoyed me when I saw everybody else releasing slimline products, and the stamp sets were kind of cut in half, but they were a similar price. It's like we wanted to give you the same layout, make it the exact same, and if you want to, of course, you can use these. They're kind of designed for slimline cards. However, these are going to fit on your normal size A2 cards too, so you're not spending the money and just making it limited to one size. I really wanted to make that clear. Even though this is a slimline release and everything works for the slimline cards, you can use it on every card, which I think is awesome. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, the greetings on these are some of my favorite. I love this font as well. So I drew this really fun little flower cluster, and I think they're lantanas. I saw them in person, and then I had to kind of reverse image search what they actually were because I saw them in a garden. So here is just a cluster of that, and there's some succulents in there, some leaves along with it. And then you have the solid silhouette that's going to stamp over top of this, and you also have the solid leaf clusters, so you're able to stamp those separately in a green color. This is one of my favorite types of stamps where you're able to really easily color it in with the different detailed images, and also you're able to take this and the leaves and stamp them by themselves. So if you want to make it look more realistic and like you didn't even have an outline to color them in, you can always stamp this by itself and stamp these kind of fitting into there as well, kind of similar to how the stamp would look, but with just out it. So yeah. Then we have this larger lantana right here, and then a bunch of sentiments. So I love this one that says, "You are so much stronger than you think." That is really super encouraging. I appreciate you so much, with deepest sympathy and sending love. And I think when it comes to sympathy stamps or really encouraging ones, if people are having a hard time, I like to keep it positive. And I like to kind of put those encouraging sentiments in there, like you are so much stronger than you think. That one is definitely going to be used a lot because I think people need smiles, rather than making it a sad kind of sympathy card. So I love this one, love how these flowers are, and I cannot wait to see what you guys do with this. And of course, if you want to just use this by itself and do some fantastic, amazing coloring or watercoloring in with it, I cannot wait to see that. But I love inking and stamping, so that's why I included that silhouette image in there as well. Kelly said, that's fabulous. I'm terrible at coloring. Well, we are on the same page, Kelly. Yeah, sometimes I'm, not in the mood for coloring or don't really love how my coloring looks. So this is the way to go. Yeah, Nancy says, me too, Kelly. I think everybody can kind of relate to that at some point. Sometimes you just don't want to color too. I just saw Kathy Zilski's video, and she didn't color in the image. She just left it white. So like there's a lot of different options you could do with some of these really fun, detailed images and maybe make a really colorful background then. So we'll talk about how that fits on a Slimline card in just a second here. And then let's talk about this one. This one has been getting a lot of love on Instagram already. And I am so happy that you guys are liking this one. It was definitely, like I said, a different style than I was usually used to. I was up all night drawing this one. I had the idea and I was like, you know what? We have to make it come to life. So I turned on a documentary and I started drawing. And I love how this one turned out. It was an idea that I had because we moved recently, and I wanted a stamp set that you can send to a friend who just moved or send to your neighbor, and I didn't see a lot like this. Sometimes I saw like a chair and more of like a reading nook, but I wanted it to be where you can literally design your own living space, make it look like a comfy little house, and then send it to a friend who's moved. And the sentiments really are great for that as well. Hey Christopher, thank you so much. There are so many of you guys in here, and I really appreciate all of the support and encouragement on these stamps. So I have a feeling by the response that this one might go fast. So we'll post a link in just a second when they're available. So let's talk. This is a really fun fireplace. I wanted that fire going on in there. I love that, and it just really adds to the cozy vibes of the stamp set. Of course, you have some different stockings. I did this so that it was a little bit of a Christmas in July vibe, but also so that you can use this all year round. And we might even have to come up with other stamp sets to kind of fill in some decorations and add different things to this and really make it a little series. But I think those stockings are going to be amazing for those who really want to start doing Christmas cards right now. Hey, Ryan. Renee says, we just moved into a brand new house and this would be so cute for the neighbors that are building their houses. Exactly. That is why I am in love with this. So we got littler things like this little plant, a lamp, and books you can put on this table right here. This large plant, which I love this plant so much. You could even just put this right on a card. This one is one of my favorite images. Then we have a blanket, 2 pillows, and the couch. And of course you could put these on top of the couch. I cut the images out separately and put them on. This couch is so fun, really nice and modern, which I love. I love how that turned out. And then that carpet down here. So this is kind of at a little bit of an angle, you'll notice. So it gets a little bit larger as it goes to the front of the card. So it's kind of a perspective point of view type thing. And that'll work really nicely underneath that couch. And if you guys are confused a little bit right now, in the examples, you guys are going to see this just come to life, which I think I'm really excited to show you. So there's no place like home, welcome home, which of course you could use for anybody who's coming home, whether they were in the military or, in college or anything like that. That's a really awesome sentiment as well. Welcome to the neighborhood, of course, is great for your neighbors. Let's make memories together in our new home. I love that so much. And even if you use that for a scrapbook, I think that's a really awesome sentiment for that as well. Home is where the heart is, and congrats on your new home. So I think those really cover the basis of why you'd be sending a card like this, but I am just so in love with this stamp set, and this one is called Welcome Home. So guys, I am loving your reaction to this. Anya said yes, add-ins for a scene, a chair, different lamps and plants. Yes, definitely. Yeah, the people will fit in the scene as well. You can put different cats on the couch and things like that. I mean, they might be a little bit larger, but of course you could try a lot of the different images from my line. I didn't even really think about that too much, but yeah, you could definitely put different things in the scene from the rest of the line. The couch is so vintage. It looks so cool. Yeah, definitely. I painted it as a leather couch for some of mine, but of course you could use whatever colors you want and make it look vintage or, inspired by your couch at home. I think it's, really awesome to do whatever suits you. And for me, I kind of made it look like my house in some of the examples, which I think is so awesome. So now that we are done showing the new release and the stamps, there are 4 different stamps as part of this release. And I am going to post a link in the chat so you guys can head over and go shopping if you'd like. Let me just quickly, I don't know why that, all right, I've got the link, the magic link for all of you guys. Here you go. That is the link to the brand new collection. And of course you'll find all of my other products there at Ranger as well. I am so excited. You guys can head out and go shopping if you want. And we're going to start crafting right now with the new release, which I am just so excited to share everything new with you guys. So, I'm so glad. Yes, the link is working. I'm so glad, Janine. Yes, the ideas. I am so glad you think they're new and fresh. I had so much fun coming up with this, and honestly, I was scared about this furniture set. I was like, I don't know how people are going to take it. It's a little bit new, it's a little bit different, but I think you guys are going to love it as much as I did. So this is a Slimline card, and I just used that new set, the Welcome Home I used, and I painted the couch. So originally I stamped down the fireplace and the rug down onto the actual card, watercolored those in, and then I cut out the couch and the pillows and the plant, and I added those right down on top. And then I just put congrats on your new home, and I love how this card is looking as well. All right, let's go on to this one. So this is a mini Slimline, of course. You guys are gonna hear my dogs. So this is a mini Slimline card now. And I love this one as well. So this is a 3x6 card. It's a little bit different. And I painted the couch and the table. I've painted that rug. I love the different colors that I was able to use in this one, the greens and blues. And I added it down all together here. And I love how this turned out. So I was able to just watercolor all these in with my Simon Hurley Create inks, added it down onto this card, and of course you guys can see, it totally doesn't need it to be a Slimline card. This is a much smaller version of this, and I was able to take some of that furniture and still put it on, and I love how this one turned out. So if you guys follow kind of a similar color scheme, I recommend doing that, and that really pulls the whole card together. So this one I used those greens and blues together, and it's so much fun. Renee, I just went in and fussy cut them. It doesn't take too long, just because they're kind of pretty easy shapes to get around. There's not a lot of different details in them, so I was able to just really quickly fussy cut them. But of course, if you have a machine die cutter, we do also offer on the Ranger site, under each stamp set, you can find the like electric die cutting machine things to cut these out as well. Yes, you can totally put a little cat on the back of the couch. And then here, I did a regular A2 size card. So if you guys are in love with the A2 size card still, the couch is gonna fit, everything's still gonna fit on it. Of course, you're gonna be able to put less, because that's why I designed it, so that you can really span out the whole room on this Slimline card. But you can put it however you want, in whatever size card format you would like. So on this one here, I added the fireplace in, and I was able to do the stockings. All right, I was able to put those stockings right above it, which I think is so awesome. And then I used a sentiment from one of my older Christmas stamp sets. This one is the Posh Point Setta's stamp set, and I used one of these fun sentiments. So this just says Happy Holidays from our home to yours. And if you guys are interested in Christmas stuff too, that same link that I posted is going to carry you guys over to my whole collection, and we still have those Christmas sets available from last year, which I really love. So if you guys are into Christmas in July as well, that link is going to carry over to all of my collection, which that stuff is still there. So I think you guys are going to love this stamp set as much as I had so much fun playing with it and just creating whatever I wanted in my own house and scene with it. I think it was so much fun. And of course, you guys can find the line at different stores. I believe it's coming to scrapbook.com soon, and Brutus Monroe has it available right now on their site. And Christopher just gave me the heads up that if you guys order, I think it is $50 worth of Simon Hurley Create stuff this week, you get a free pack of stamping foam with it. So that's awesome as well on BrutusMonroe.com. All right, so this is using that Fresh Cut Flowers stamp set. And I am just in love with this one. So like I said, peel those stamps out and you're able to use them on your card as just a regular kind of flower cluster. So here I used literally every piece. I used some shimmery kind of watercolors to paint these in, and you guys will see that in a coming video. And then I used one of my sentiment stamp sets from the Sentimental Flowers, one of my stencils back here. This one is the stained glass stencil. So literally keep using everything you guys have because it's all going to work together beautifully to create these kind of cards. I love, love, love this one and how it turned out. SVGs, I believe they work with a Cricut. Hopefully someone in the chat who's more knowledgeable on that can let you know, but yes, I believe the SVGs do work in a Cricut. And this one I created the background. I used the whole background stamp. I stamped it down, I ink blended everything in with my ink blending tools, and then I stamped down the background on here as well and used the sentiment "I appreciate you so much" from the lovely Lantanas stamp set. And here I just kind of cut around the edge of that to make it a little bit more interesting. Alright. Here I went in with markers and I was able to quickly color in all of those different details on the stamps. Then I sprayed it down with a little bit of water and stamped it down onto my surface, gave a little bit of ink blending with the same colors on the edges, and then I stamped down one of the sentiments from the lovely Lantana stamp set. I love, love, love that encouraging "you are so much stronger than you think" sentiment. And this card was just super simple to make, but I love all that coloring and that amazing background stamped down. Alright, talk about lovely lantanas. I love the sentiments from that stamp set, but this flower is also just so, so stunning. So this is on an A2 size card. Like I said, I don't like it when people make things that are just meant for one size. So I wanted to share some A2 size cards today as well. This one is the lovely lantanas, and I used all of the different solid images to stamp these in and give it some shading. And then for the background, I used the Honey Hive stencil from my line. And I like the just simplicity of this and how fun this was to create with the different color inks on there. So that's just colored with inks, right? I didn't have to go in and do a lot of work, which I really love about that. Now let's talk about using the lovely lantanas on a slimline card. Here I just used it on the edges. Of course you could stamp it down the center or do a grouping here and a grouping here of the flowers, but I thought I would just do them on the edges coming on here. And then I masked it off and did just a little bit of ink blending on both of those edges. And then I used the stamp set Encouraging Words for my line. That has those huge sentiments on it, and I thought that that was really fun to fill in this card. And of course, it is such encouraging sentiments that I love to just send to anybody. These are in my handwriting too. And I love how this one turned out. Again, I was able to quickly color both of these groupings in with the stamp. I did it a little bit more kind of watercolory, so you'll see a little bit more of kind of white spaces in there, but I love how this one turned out as well. And I love just how I was able to stamp two groupings of this and not really worry about coloring, because you don't need to color, right? The stamping makes it so simple and easy to do. Yes. Nancy says, yes, this stamp set lines up so nice and you could do multiple layers easily. Definitely. And for this one, I did it in my Misty stamping tool because I wanted to use my blending tool to get a softer edge. But in this one, I just stamped it down directly onto it and I was able to just do it in one pass. So it really depends on how you guys want to do it, but layering stamps are some of my favorite and easy to color in with. I love how these turned out. Alright, and then last but not least, I love how this one turned out. This is the Bold Blossoms. And again, like I said, it doesn't go right to the edge, so you're easily able to go in there and cut it out if you want, or you could stamp it right down on the card if you would like to. And I went in with some watercolor powders for this one. You can see that beautiful shine on there. I just heat embossed it and then did some watercoloring on top of it for a little bit of a bold effect. And then I, of course, used one of the sentiments from the lovely Lantana stamp set. You guys are so right when you talk about how much I love those sentiments in that set. The font is just so much fun and they're really easy to use on all these different cards. And then with these background stamps, I love that it's just so simple to just stamp it down, watercolor it in, and get a really super easy card in the end. Awesome. So thank you guys here are all the different cards, and now let's get into crafting with this release. So what do you guys want to see most? I think maybe one of the flower stamp sets. I've got some videos coming with the furniture soon, which I'll share very soon. I actually have videos on, I think, all of these different cards that will be coming soon in the coming days. But I think let's share... What should we share first? There is so much that we could do. So first, let's talk about the foam, actually. Let's do this. Karen, you're still processing that I can do cursive? That's funny. I kind of have my own version of cursive. It's a little bit cursive, but it's like, it's very much so English cursive, like regular writing with a little bit of mixed together in cursive. Let's talk about stamping foam. So stamping foam actually just recently came back in stock on the Ranger site, and I'll put another link there because at the top of my page, my product page, you'll find the stamping foam. You can also buy it along with the acrylic blocks, which is super exciting as well. And I wanted to share a card using the stamping foam with one of the backgrounds today to share another way on how to use it on an A2 size card and turn one of those slimline backgrounds into, like I said, an A2 size card. So I'm going to take a piece of my stamping foam. This stuff comes in a pack of 4, and if you've never used it before, this is going to be a really awesome demo for you guys. So yeah, we'll go into all the other stamps in just a second here. I can be crafting all day with you guys. So I'm going to grab a piece of my stark white cardstock. And now let's talk about what I like to do with my stamping foam. The reason why we put the acrylic blocks in the same bundle as the stamping foam, if you want to buy them together, is because I like to use these together. Guys, I have opened so many acrylic block packs because these are my favorite acrylic blocks by far, and I'm not just saying that because they have my name on it. It's just because they're nice and thin, so you're not going to drop them, and you're also really easily able to see through them. But I like it because with thicker blocks, I was not able to like push enough on them, and then with thin ones, I was dropping them everywhere. So this is like the perfect happy medium for me. But also with this acrylic block, here's why we put it in the same bundle. You're like, get on topic, Simon. So I like to use a little bit of whatever adhesive. Here I'm using mint tape from scrapbook.com for my friends over there. And I'm just going to take 2 pieces of tape. You can use painter's tape or whatever. Just want kind of removable tape. And I'll add that onto the back of my acrylic block. And then I'm going to take my stamping foam and place it right down on top to attach it right to my acrylic block there. This is going to make it so that I have a nice sturdy handle for this. It almost makes it into like a red rubber stamp or a clear stamp where we're able to give a lot of good pressure and make it be nice and solid throughout. So that's why I like to attach it onto here. If you guys haven't seen my stamping foam videos before, this is what I like to do. All right, so let's talk about stamping down now. I'm going to grab out the fresh cut flowers background stamp because I want to show you guys how much amazing detail you can get into here. I'm just going to make sure all of these pieces are pressed down, and again, the easy way to do that is just by pulling apart the rubber a little bit and making sure everything is pressed into here, because when it comes to stamping foam, it's going to pick up all the texture. Alright, so I like to use the Ranger Heat It tool to heat this up. You can use whatever heat tool you want. I have other ones on deck as well. But the reason why I love the Ranger Heat It tool for this in particular is because it's got a little bit of a wider base here. It gets to the same amount of heat, but it's going to disperse the heat a little bit more, so I'm able to kind of run it around here and not have it be focused just in one area, so it's all going to evenly get hot, which I really love. Alright, yeah, and the stamping foam is just at a great price point too. So I'm going to go in here and heat it for about 10 to 15 seconds. I want the foam to be nice and warm. And I like to hold it too in my hand because I don't like to waste any time. I go right from that heating to here without, looking back, without taking a second to press it down or decide where I want it, because some people will go in, they'll heat it up and they'll go, where do I want this? And then they'll press it down, and by then your heat is already going to kind of leave that foam. So you want to be able to just press it down really quickly and get all that detail in there. That's a really good impression. You don't need it to be super deep. The thing about the stamping foam is if it's not actually super deep, you're going to get a lot more details. If it's really deep into there, it's going to be harder to get all those details stamped down. All right, so now let's go in with my inks. And there's a couple different ways you can go about this. So let's start off by doing one of my favorite techniques. I love doing this. So I'm going to grab a couple different inks. Let's start off with Breakup Blue and go to Midnight Snack, and maybe we'll bring in a little bit of Crown Me too. I'm going ham with the colors today. All right, we're doing a lot of colors on this background. So let's talk about inking up the stamping foam as well. Let's talk about my colors. So I'm going to start off with Breakup Blue, and I'm going to go in here, and whenever I ink up my stamping foam, I like to go in and do a little bit of a swirling motion instead of tapping. The tapping is going to give you kind of marks and not like ink it up fully, whereas the swirling motion is going to give you a lot of ink on that surface. So that was Breakup Blue. One of my most favorite recent techniques for inking up the stamping foam has been to do this. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of Clear Skies now, and I like to keep it, for this technique at least, in the same color family. So I'll go around with a lot of blues. We're just going to ink this up, and I like to go around the edge, and then I'll leave a little part in the center, that Breakup Blue color, which is the lightest color blue that I'm going to be using today. Then we're going to go in with a little bit of Remember Me, which is a little bit darker, one step darker. We'll swipe that onto the surface there. We'll go even one step darker. This is Midnight Snack. And the reason why I love doing this is it adds a little bit of shading and depth and dimension to the image. In photography, it's like a vignette, which is going to darken the edges to really draw your eye to the center. So that's kind of similar to what we're doing here. It's going to really bring your eyes to the center and make that the focal point. And besides that, I just think it looks cool. So last but not least, we'll throw in a little bit of purple right to the edge. I think just adding in a little bit of purple there is a lot of fun. And this is kind of like a bluish purple, so it's going to go along really well with this. All right. And I added a little too much purple there, so I'm going to bring back in a little bit of Midnight Snack to fix it. All right. Now, let's talk about spraying it. There's a lot of different steps to stamping foam, and I'll even make a video in the future. There's a lot of different things that if you do it, it's going to give you a different effect, right? So I want to show you how to spray the stamping foam. I got my stamping foam here. In the other hand, I'm going to hold my Distress sprayer. I like this one because it has a nice fine mist to it. I'm also looking at other things that might help you guys out to get a nice fine mist as well, and I'll share those in just a future video. So I'm going to hold my foam, and in the other hand, I'm going to hold it about a foot away, and we're going to just lightly mist. You can do it 2 times, 3 times, but the thing you'll notice is I'm going to pull the sprayer quite fast, and then I'm going to like bring it down like this. You're going to notice the water is barely even hitting this, right? I can literally spray a lot of different times, and by then, if you had the sprayer like this close to it, of course you're going to have puddles by then, but look at it, just kind of watered it. It just kind of like almost misted it, like it got a little tiny bit wet. You know those little misters in Disney World? That's what I like to compare it to. It's like you're walking through dust. We don't want like big globs. That's what it should feel like for the stamping foam, right? You don't want to see big globs. You just want it to be a little bit wet so that it helps the ink transfer onto the surface there. So then once that's done, I'm going to line it up in my stark white cardstock, stamp it down, and this acrylic black is going to help us give the pressure that we want. And there we go. And of course, I'm going to cut this out. I didn't line that up evenly at all, but there is our background. So of course, what you're going to do is get a reverse of this background. So wherever this would have stamped black, it's going to turn white on your background now. So that's the benefit of using the stamping foam along with your background stamp. But besides that, it makes it so that it fits on an A2 size card, right? You're able to take the different pieces, and instead of stamping it on a Slimline card, of course, you're able to stamp it on the A2 size card. Now, another thing you could totally do to make this work on an A2 size card is just tape off the edges, make a little bit of border of tape and mask that off, and then stamp this down, and of course, then you've got a background right in the center of your card, stamped just how the stamp would stamp. So it doesn't need to be just a Slimline card, and that's one of the things I really love about it. Now I want to show you one more thing with the stamping foam. Let me just clean this off quickly here. And wipe it off, and the inks come really clean with water because they're water-based inks. And then one other thing you could do with them, and I know I've shared this in a video in the past, but I want to share it again because I feel like it's really a great tip. One thing you could do is go in with your blending tools and blend the color in. And I'm able to just take that color right on here. And this is going to give me a lot more control as I'm blending the color on to make sure that, you know, I'm keeping it wherever I want it. So here I'm able to go in and color in these flowers specifically exactly where I want to with the blending tool in hand. And another thing you're able to do is, okay, let's say I wanted to go in with a little bit of traffic cone orange. We'll go in and blend that out in the center to give it a little bit more definition. So like in this way, we're actually coloring the image in, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of coloring. I love inking, but in this way, I'm able to take the thing that I love, which is the inks, and use them to color in this image. Another thing that's going to really help you get into all these different details, and I'll show you this more when we get into even the smaller little leaves there, is these detail blending tools from Ranger are some of my favorites. They have a little foam at the end, just like the regular blending foams, but they're a lot smaller, so I'm able to get into these little tiny detailed areas and color those in as well. Yeah, I'm so excited as well, Ranger, to see exactly what everybody created with this. It's just so fun to see everybody's creativity with the release and how everybody interprets it a little bit differently. All right, we'll add a little bit of orange on the edge there. Now let's talk about going in with the greens here. I'm going to, oh guys, I keep missing. There's another flower right here. Keep missing where they all are. All right, so then we'll go in with the greens. I'm gonna use a little bit of overzealous and go in with my, again, the little detail blending tools. And we'll go in here, and then for this, even this one is kind of small, so I'm going to go right on the edge of my detail blending tool and go right into here and get all those tiny, tiny little details colored in. Bet you guys didn't think you could do that. So these are life changers, they're game changing, and they got two sides to them. They come 5 in a pack, you can find them at the Ranger site. I'll leave my link again if you guys want to head out and go shopping, and that link helps support me as well if you go shopping through that link, so I really do appreciate it. Whoop. And this is going to help you get into all of the tiny, tiny little details in here. And if we want to, you could also go in and add a little bit more shading to the image too, which is something that I really like to do. You don't need to do this, but I think it just adds to giving it a little bit of depth and dimension to the images. Even if you just lightly tap on a little bit of extra color, it goes a long way. And last but not least, you guys might think this is a little bit of time consuming, but trust me, it'll pay off in the end, I promise. Once you guys see the final result, I think you're going to fall in love with this. I want to go in with a little bit of breakup blue, actually. This is one of my newest colors, and it's been kind of a favorite lately. And these blending tools are just so easy. All you have to do is just apply a little bit of ink. You don't have to be too careful either. Like just kind of go around the images here. Just following along the edges. It's really easy to just add a little bit of color into there. And I like to add the blue in the background. This is a step you could totally skip, but it makes it look like a finished kind of painting that you did. But you could totally leave the other spots blank too. I never really even thought of that. And just stamp it down and have kind of some separated images throughout the background. You know what? I think we got me thinking. Now that could be really cool later on. All right, so again, bring it up to my face here. Hold that a little bit far away. Oh, I love that coloring on there. It looks so cool on the screen. All right, so I'm gonna go in and spray it down about 3 times. Again, I don't wanna see globs running. Of course, if you wanted it to be a more watercolory background, you totally could do that, but I'm not going to today. I wanna keep it kind of nice and detailed there. Again, we'll pull out our piece of cardstock here. And stamp it down. Give some good pressure with that acrylic black. Lift it off, and oh my gosh, guys. This is why I said it's going to be worth it in the end. That is so much fun, and the detail coloring of this is really, really cool. So again, either way is totally fine way of doing this, whether you want to take a little bit less time and color the whole thing in, but I think when it comes to flowers and doing backgrounds like this, it makes it look so cool. And with this, I love that there's no black lines either. It makes it almost look like you did like no line coloring with it, because there's no embossing there, right? So it makes it almost look like you like colored this in by yourself, which I think is so cool. And the cool part about this is, like I said, it'll be worth it in the end, because a lot of times when I do that coloring by itself like that, there's a lot of ink left over on the foam stamp. And of course, if you use markers too, you're gonna have a lot of ink on there. So I can go in, give it some good pressure, stamp it down, and you get a little bit more of a watercolor version of this. And of course, if I use darker colors, it'll probably show up even a little bit more, but I love that you're able to get kind of a two-toned look. This one, of course, is a lot lighter and more pastel, but I still love how both of them turned out. This is so fun. Ah, that's so awesome. And stamping foam just makes it really easy to get an effect that you love. And one other thing that I love about stamping foam, if you've never seen it before, I'm gonna go in here, wipe this off quickly, give it a good clean. All right, and you're able to take this again, take your heat it tool. I'm gonna hold it up like this so you guys can see exactly how this is gonna work. Reheat it. And your image is going to disappear right back into your foam, which makes it so that this is a reusable product. And it's at a great price point too, for a 4-pack of this foam. And then you can, of course, reheat it and keep stamping it into anything you guys have, which is so, so awesome. So yeah, look into this stamping foam, guys. It's a lot of fun. And I thought I would share just how to use the stamping foam along with one of these slimline backgrounds to create a regular sized A2 card. So this makes it so that you can really use things to a lot more, you know? Like if you want to, you can take that background, you could take some of the furniture from one of the stamp sets and create an A2 size card. It's really up to you guys. All right, yes, it's just like magic. Thank you guys so much. I love all the awesome comments. You guys seem to be absolutely loving how these backgrounds turned out, and I agree. I was surprised when I pulled this off. It's always just so much fun to see what you're gonna get, and I love how this one turned out. All right, so let's do something else. Let's go into, some of you guys wanted to see how the flowers lined up. Let's do that next. All right, I'm pulling in the lovely lantanas. And of course, I'll just leave another link in the chat. That is the link to go shopping at Ranger. That link helps support me as well. So if you guys want to grab any of this release, I just shoved the link in the chat. All right, so here is this stamp set. Now let's go in here and do a little bit of stamping. Gonna open the stamp set all the way so I can easily grab the next piece. So I'm gonna just do my stamping on an A2 size card. This floral cluster fits really nicely on the A2 size card, but also this is a slimline release, like I said, so of course you could put it right here, put a sentiment on the bottom. You could do like half on, half off, and do some clusters of the flowers. It's really, really up to you when it comes to how you want to use this. All right, so I'm going to lay that down, give it good pressure, and then let's do our stamping here. I'm going to stamp with a little bit of jet black archival ink and ink this up. All right, then I'm going to use my stamping tool to just apply a little bit of pressure on here. I've been loving this lately to just use it as kind of a glider across the surface and add a little bit of pressure onto my stamp. All right, so we'll add a little bit more ink down here. That's why I like to stamp any images really in my MISTI, in case if I need to restamp anything. There we go, right back in the exact same spot. That's why we love the MISTI. So there we go, that is the image of this. Of course, you can see all of that detail in there. Isn't that so cool? I just love all the little lines that were inspired. So I'm going to just heat set this. It is an oil-based ink, so I just want to make sure that it's not going to smear at all. It should be good. It just takes a little bit. It dries really quickly, but sometimes when you touch it, the oil of your finger smears it. All right, so let's go into here. I'm going to put this stamp right back in, and then let's go into the stamp set. So I'm going to grab this solid image with all of these flowers on it. It's going to color in all of the flowers at once. Isn't that pretty amazing? So I'm going to show you this in your MISTI stamping tool, but like I said, you could shove this on an acrylic block. It does fit on one of my acrylic blocks. All right, you could totally do that and just stamp it down in one pass. That works as well, so if you don't have a stamping tool, maybe you could do that. But one thing I love about this is the different shading you could do really easily in your MISTI. So I'm going to grab this stamp, line it up. You just want to make sure everything's lined up with all the little details in the stamp. We'll apply a little bit of pressure. Sometimes this comes up off the surface. One thing I like to do is just press down on my photopolymer stamp to get all the air bubbles out. Sometimes when you're using a stamping tool or anything like that, like you just want to press down in the other areas where it's not supposed to stamp. That way no ink gets on it and it's not heated up. Do I use the same heat gun for embossing? I use this heat gun for embossing only because the heat is more concentrated, so it's going to heat it up a little bit faster, but the Ranger tool can heat emboss, it just takes a little bit more time as well. They both get to the same heat. Alright, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of Over the Moon first. I'm going to go into the center of this, and to ink this up, believe it or not, I use my ink blending tools. This is when I'm going into my Misty and doing the stamping, I use my ink blending tools for the sole purpose of it's going to give me a softer color and I can build up my color over time, but I don't have to worry about any harsh marks then, which I really love. We'll do a little bit of stamping. Alright, so you can see that really soft color, and I only did it in the centers because that's where I want the color to be most. So add a little bit more ink down, and you'll be surprised, honestly, how much ink is coming off that blending tool. Alright, so next, let's go in. What should I do? Maybe I'll do a different color combination than I did before. I think that would be fun. Let's go in with, yeah, let's do this. I'm going to do a little bit of Rosy Cheeks. We're going to switch it up. I did warm colors. I'm still going to do a little bit of warm colors, but it's going to be kind of a softer blend, I guess. We'll see how it comes out. Alright, so I'm going to go around the edge with my next blending tool with Rosy Cheeks on it, and this is going to easily add a little bit of shading to the image. Alright. Yes, Nancy, the flowers are separate from the leaves. Yeah, so it makes it really easy to stamp, which is something that I really love. I just think it's so fun to go in and be able to have this solid image in your set. It's really great for different techniques. And like I said, if you want to, use it by itself and make it look like you hand did it. That's really awesome as well. Ooh, I love that color combination. Oh my gosh. So that was Over the Moon and Rosy Cheeks. And now we're going to bring in a little bit of Triple Berry, which is the kind of warm purple from my line. And I'm just going to add this right to the edge. And as I go, I'm going to just do closer and closer to the edge. So you'll see I'm just adding that color right to the edge. And like I said, you're still getting a lot of ink off of this. I, at first, was against using the blending tool. I was like, I don't want to use this to ink it up. Like, I would rather just use my ink pads. But it honestly just avoids getting any of those harsh marks. And also, if you want, you can add the pink back in to kind of soften those inside edges if you need to. Pretty. I love how this is looking. Oh my gosh. That's super cool. Okay, and then let's go in with one last color. Let's do Crown Me right at the edges. This is going to bring in, again, it's more of a bluish kind of purple. It's going to bring in just a little bit more contrast right to the outer edge. Like literally I'm just touching the edge of this with my blending tool. Barely. Guys, and see, like I said, it can be as simple as you make it, right? If you just want to take this on an acrylic block, which I'll show you in a second, and stamp it, you totally could. And if you want to be crazy like me, you can go in with your blending tools and do 4 different layers of ink on your Misty stamping tool. So it really just is up to you on how detailed you want to get with this. Ah, that's so cool. Oh my gosh, guys. Look at that. That's just an effect you can't really achieve with normal coloring. Like, that would take me so long. But with inks, I'm really comfortable with them. And being able to just go in and have several different layers to really easily line everything up is amazing. Kelly said, love this, getting this today. Exactly. Yeah. This stamp set is one of my faves. Honestly, this release, and I know I say it every time, this release I just had so much fun playing with. It's one of my favorite releases I believe ever done. It's really like just my style, like now and updated. This is kind of what I like working with. I love the stamps that I released this release. And like I said, of course, we're not getting rid of any of the cartoon kind of looks, and there's still more to come. I just designed some more, but to have a variety of styles for everybody was really important for me. And this is something that I love creating with sometimes too. So I thought it would be awesome to release. All right, so the leaves are really fun because they come separately. There's a couple of separate stamps to do the leaves. And of course, you could do those separately. But one thing I do like to do is just take the leaves. This is why I like my Misty a lot. I'm gonna just take them. You're also able to just line things up a little bit better in here, but they're pretty easy to line up by hand. And I'm able to just easily line up all of these different leaves into one layer on my Misty. Oh, the concentration. I have to concentrate so it gets a little quiet. All right, so once we've got those lined up, I'm going to take my Misty door, pick them up, and again, I'll get rid of any little air bubbles in here, make sure that it's all good. Then let's do our stamping. So I'm gonna use a little bit of Psych. I love this color so much. It's just such a bright, like yellowy. I think it'll go along really well with this. It goes nicely with that purple. Alrighty. All right, then we're gonna go in with a little bit of, let's do some Later Gator, which is gonna add in just a little bit of shading already. I'm gonna get some shading going in here. All right. I don't like coloring too much either. Yeah, that's why I love this Gloria. It just makes it so fun and easy to do. And then last but not least, we're gonna go in and finish it off with a little bit of fake plant. Can't go wrong with a little bit of fake plant, huh? Speaking of fake plants, I've purchased a few fake plants lately. Let me know in the comments, are you guys good at like keeping real plants alive? I bought some fake plants for my new craft room. I decided that I wanted some greens in there, but I didn't want to, actually, okay, let me be honest. There is some real plants, but some of them are definitely fake. I'm not too great at taking care of real plants, so that's where the inspiration for that name came. All right, so I'm gonna go in here and wipe that off, and then I'm able to just really easily put these right back into the stamp set. I like to kind of clean up as I go too, so I can line everything back up. All right, look at this. Guys, it can't be easier than that. Like, it really can't be. That's so, I love it. I love how that turned out. Someone says they have 10 real plants still going. Oh my gosh, that's talent. I can only keep bamboo alive. All right, so yeah, I don't have a green thumb either. That's why the fake plant, that's why this was inspired by that. Look how fun this is. I am just obsessed with how it turned out. I love all the different layering pieces of it, and you know, to get all that coloring is just so super easy with this stamp set, which is one thing I love about it. All right, now let's talk about quickly coloring things in. Right, if you don't want to be crazy like me, and you just want this to be quick and easy, I'm gonna grab my acrylic block. I'm gonna get this foam, just because my desk is kind of really a solid surface for a big stamp. All right, so let's go in here, grab a piece of my cardstock, and then let's go in and do, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of orange guppy. And so like I said, one thing that you can do, this is a totally another option, is adding all your colors on at once. So let's say I wanted to do a little bit of red. I'm gonna add in some bee sting here as some shading. I love bee sting with orange. All right, so all I'm gonna do is just lightly tap on my color. I'll go at it from kind of an angle, and I also like to tip my ink pad on an angle. This is gonna help you get less of those harsh marks as you're inking up your stamp. And just be kind of light-handed with it. That I find helps to kind of blend as well. Then I can go in, and I'm just going to give it a quick mist, just like I did with my foam. Am I holding it the right way? Yeah. Then I'll just stamp this down. Give it some good pressure, and look at that. So of course, you can use it without your outline if you want to. You can also use it without your MISTI, and you can do all the colors at once if you want to. So if you want like really quick and simple cards, of course, that shading is not going to compare to this shading, right? That's just not even a fair game. We did this in like 6 layers. But if you want something quick and easy, this is another way to do it. I'm going to go in with my leaves now and just show you how quick and easy that is. Let's do one of the clusters of leaves. So I'm going to just go in with this little leaf cluster first. We'll go in with a little bit of Psych. And you know what, this time we'll bring in a little bit of Tropical Tango. I like the look of the Psych and Tropical Tango together. There's so many different cool color combinations. I love that the line of inks is growing because there's a lot of different choices that you can have now. And then we'll go in, and this one just fits right in here. You're gonna see my head. It's okay, I have to line this up. So I'm gonna stamp that down, give it some good pressure, and oh my gosh. See guys, so look, you don't need that outline, which is one thing I love about this stamp set. I'm gonna do one last thing here so you guys can really get the full effect. A little bit of Psych, a little bit of Tropical Tango, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and this one. And it helps to have this example on the side too to look. Goes right here, and it fits like a glove. You just want to get above the stamp to see it, and once you're able to do that, it's like easy peasy. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. I love how that came out. Such an easy card, right? That it just makes it so simple, and then if you want to, all you need to do is grab a sentiment. I love this one, because we've already been talking about how much this one might be my favorite sentiment. And we'll grab one of the sentiment acrylic blocks. These make it really easy to just stamp down kind of a smaller image like this. I'll go in with my archival ink to make it stand out, and I think we're gonna stamp that right there. Yep. Press that down, and there we go. Guys, how fun is that? How simple and easy is that? Like, I love a quick and easy card, and I like that we didn't have to do this one in the MISTI. Like I said, does the shading compare? Probably not, but I like the different options, and I like that you guys are able to see, hey, this is what it looks like with one layer of shading all done together, and also this is what it looks like without the outline, right? You don't have all that detail in there. Now, the solid images still have all that amazing detail in there. It's just not filled in with black. So that's one thing I still like about this. These aren't just solid blobs, right, of color. This is still the detailed image. It's just not filled in with the black ink after. How fun is that? Yes, you can find the link to the Ranger site right in the chat there, and that link helps support me as well. How do you keep from getting colors on other ink pads? That's a good question, Gloria. So let's see. I'll give you a couple different tips. One thing you guys saw me do is use Guppy first and then Bee Sting. That's because Bee Sting is a little bit darker of a color, so I want to kind of always start with my lighter color first. My second thing is if you do notice that some ink is getting onto your ink pad from the other one, let's say you got a little bit of red on this one, it's not going to affect the ink pad too much, but it's going to kind of have the color on the surface for just a second. So one thing you can do is just kind of wipe off with a dry cloth until you see that color come back. That really helps as well if you grab like a paper towel and wipe it off. You don't want to do it with a baby wipe or anything that has liquid in it. Please don't add that to your ink pad, but if you do it with a dry wipe, that should be really easy. And you're not going to ruin your ink pad. A lot of times it's just the ink sitting on the surface and it's not going to really soak in, which yeah, that is how to keep that from happening. I never get too worried about it because it's really difficult to destroy an ink pad unless you re-ink it with a different color. That's like pretty much the only way to ruin it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And with the felt ink pads, it's not as much of an issue. Alright guys, I think this was our live stream today. I had so much fun crafting with you guys with these two examples and also using the stamping foam with one of our Slimline backgrounds to create just a normal A2 size card as well. And guys, I'm so glad you are in love with this release as much as I do. It was so much fun to create and design with, and like I said, I've got a lot of cards coming out in the next week or two with all of the different examples that I shared in today's video, all in a video with how I created them. Yes, thank you guys so much for joining the live stream. There was a lot of you guys in here. I am so happy that you guys are loving this release. Janine said she's so scared to mix colors. Janine, don't be scared. Guys, don't be scared to mix your colors. It really is not bad for your ink pads. Again, like I said, the wiping off trick is really helpful. I've gotten a lot of green in the blue ink pad sometimes, and it might stain your ink pad a little bit, but it's not going to harm it in the long run, especially if you clean it off. Thanks for being here, Ranger. Yes, Megan, thank you so much. Nancy, thank you. I cannot wait to see everybody else's card using this, so be sure to hop along. I know Nancy probably has a video going up pretty soon, and some of the other designers on my design team have some videos showing some of the awesome projects that they created with this release as well. And of course, I'll have more Instagram reels, photos, and videos coming very soon. Guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day. I'm going to leave the link one last time in the chat, and it's also down below in the description box if you guys want to go shop the foam or anything from my new release and the rest of my Simon Hurley Create product line. Alright guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you so very soon in another card making and crafting video. Bye!